Players who, just follow what other players do, but Jordan's more of a creator. He's more of a unique thinker. He comes out with ideas, and that's why he's been part of Magnus's World Championships team. So yeah, let's see what he's got here.
Guys, we see the Queen's Gambit declined on the board.
There you go.
And yeah, the Queen's Gambit declined. Black not taking the bait. We do see one of the most trendy variations of this system, the Tarash variation of the Queen's Gambit declined. And, OK, what will Magnus play here? Brings out his bishop. This opening has been very popular by Team Magnus players. That means Magnus Carlsen himself, Daniel Dubov, Jorden van Foreest, people that Magnus has worked together with in World Championship training camps. And, OK, we see maybe a rarer line, not the most common over the last few turns, but the kind of whole nature of the position revolves around Black's pawn in the middle of the board, which is an isolated pawn. If that's a strength, then Black is doing great. If it's a weakness, a target for White, then Magnus will be happy.
And remember, if you yourself want to become an expert on the Queen's Gambit decline, this super popular opening on the tour, then we do have that Chessable course by Alex Kolovic. And if you do join in our question of today, we're asking what you struggle with the most in the opening. You can win this course valued at $300. So please join in and tweet your answers using the hashtag #ChessChamps. Well, they're playing fast. Obviously, they're well known in this opening.
Yeah, they've probably discussed either this line or at least something very similar before. They are good friends. They've worked together many times now over the last 6 months, 1 year. So nothing new for them, maybe. But who do you think this position will favour in terms of style, Simon?
I mean, I'd say White in general. It depends if Black can get any activity, but it's really about the centre of the board and that pawn, the isolated pawn. And Magnus loves slowly manoeuvring around a slight weakness. And I would have thought here that the question is, he can do that. I don't know if Black can get enough activity. I mean, he might even be able to take the knight, take the pawn now, but that it looks a bit risky. And I don't think he'll do that. But I would have thought Magnus would be comfortable in this position.
Yeah, I think so too.
Magnus slightly frowning. Just to show, you mentioned a couple of captures there, Simon. Big decision, this bishop under threat. And the natural move would be to step back, just maintain this pin, maintain this tension, not commit. But you also mentioned, Simon, taking this knight and then taking the pawn. Looks greedy, especially while White's king is in the centre. But if you can get away with it, it's just going to be a clear pawn up. What does Black do? If you take this pawn with Black, then you have to really be careful of knight checks at some point. And he's going for it. Real tension already. If the queen doesn't go and take this pawn, if you remove the knight from the board, then suddenly, I mean, this bishop is under attack. And White's just a clear pawn up, no?
Well, I was thinking bishop b4 check here.
Give a check.
Might be some way to at least stop White from castling, because Black needs to get some kind of compensation. And we know that Jorden does quite a lot of rather speculative or aggressive ideas just to stop his opponent castling. He's done this before to Magnus to hold the draw, I think, in the last one when he needed to get a draw. So maybe there's some compensation here.
For example, if Black castles, yes, Black's a pawn down, but White's king is kind of getting in the way of the two rooks. They can't connect anytime soon.
Yeah, and the Black rooks can centralise, so put them on the open lines.
But the fact that Jorden is paused after this last move, bishop takes knight, the fact that he's even considering wrecking his own pawn structure.
No, you can't do that. Not against anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, these are too ugly, these isolated pawns here.
Gives me the shivers.
What did Jorden think? He spent nearly a minute on that move. Normally Jorden, he's the type of guy, yes, he's full of opening ideas, but if he knows an idea, he'll play it instantly. He doesn't want to sit around and bluff and kind of play mind games. And big question, does Magnus take or does he not? It would also be viable to just castle the king away to safety first.
Well, I mean, one thing I've seen Magnus do a lot more in the last tour, even though the tour maybe wasn't that successful, was take some of these risky-looking pawns. He was very brave capturing a pawn, which I hadn't really seen him do as much before. So I don't know. I mean, Jovanka, is he gonna grab that one in the middle here, or is he gonna?
It kind of feels like he should, having...
Yeah, I don't think I would. I think I'd be too scared. I think I'd just castle here. I mean,
Fortune favours the brave, Simon.
It does, and if you can calculate your way out of trouble, which, these strong players love to do,
Yeah, they do. I'd just be too scared. I'd just be like, no, I see a check. I've got to move my king. Don't like it. Castle, you know? So that's...
You want to be the one sacrificing pawns and attacking.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the one grabbing and defending, right?
Yeah, that's maybe a personal thing, which is a bit of a mistake.
Yeah.
But I think you're probably right. And he has.
He's
taken
grabbed
it.
it.
Right, OK. There we go.
Yeah. He's
a very brave man,
calculated
Magnus.
that there's absolutely no trouble. And I think this is maybe the correct kind of continuation after capturing the knight. You know, you kind of go all in at the minute. And whilst Jorden is thinking about what to do, well, I do feel I love this quiz of the day that we have where we're asking what are the things you most struggle with in the opening, because it really feels like, you know, it's kind of a problem clinic that we can help with, like almost like an agony column. And Shreyas Bangar says that they struggle to keep patience in openings, which is... something Grandmaster David Howell is incredibly patient.
Well, not just in the opening, I feel, as well. So
Incredibly boring, I am.
No.
More patient.
Be patient is a virtue, as they say.
I mean, you don't always need to be patient in openings. I think if you're feeling that you're impatient in openings, then maybe you're just playing the wrong openings. Maybe you should be choosing openings where you can be a bit more direct. So that's one to check out.
Yeah.
Just make sure you choose openings where it does suit your instincts.
Good advice, David. And Bonaventure James says that they start to feel flustered by aggressive openings that they are not familiar with. This then results in them putting themselves in a very bad position by playing reactively. And that's something that I can relate to, actually, especially when I'm faced with outright aggression and with someone who I know is famous for playing in a creative, aggressive style and has a higher rating than me. Those are the two kind of conditions where I feel flustered. If it's someone lower rated than me, I tend to go, well, come on. I've studied the Caracal for years. Come and get me if you think you're hard enough. I actually honestly
come and have a
think
go
that.
if you think you're hard enough.
I know.
Is that what you...
I do. You know,
Football chant. Yeah, so...
Totally. I know it's totally inappropriate. But anyway, that's what I think. But I can definitely relate to that feeling of feeling flustered and maybe feeling out-prepared. I think the kind of key is just to have a belief in your openings and belief in your ability to resolve those problems. And I think a good kind of thing is to always think back to the times that you did solve those problems before and you reacted in a positive way, and just take inspiration from that. And also I would kind of suggest taking a look at the concrete problems on the board. I mean, if the position is dangerous, then OK, look after your king. And here we go.
It's getting very sharp.
It is getting sharp,
Incredibly
crazy
sharp.
stuff on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, white. Oof, I don't know. Both. I mean, white castling. I mean, this looks so logical. And you know, whose king is weaker now? Black's king, surely.
Black's king's in the centre. White's king is safely tucked away.
I don't like this of black. Just instinctively, it just looks something wrong for black here.
Yeah. I mean, unless you can somehow trade the queens off where black maybe will be fine, I think Magnus is going to win a miniature. I just have a feeling he's going to win quite a quick game here. Just Jorden, we mentioned the pawn sacrifice. He's known for those. He's carefree, he's creative, he's ambitious, but the fact that he paused for 2 or 3 minutes, that's very unlike him. It's very uncharacteristic, but also, I mean, he normally loves having the safer king. And white is the one creating threats. White's knight now is attacking the black rook in the corner, is kind of attacking white, the black light-squared bishop. I mean, if you trade that one off, even if it's opposite colour bishops, that favours the side who's attacking, the side with the safer king.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Great for white.
And white's queen has a nice square over on the side of the board as well, where it increases the pressure a little bit. So just instinctively, this looks horrible for black. I mean, white's got everything you want, surely. And I expect the queen will move there now. So if the queen moves 3 squares, it can even swing to the other side of the board. It attacks the knight. I mean, we could maybe show that.
Queen is attacked, so why not? As you mentioned, Simon, park it here. You're kind of helping this pressure against the knight. And the swinging you mentioned happens from this angle. You can swing the whole way over and start checking the black king. I mean, you've got a choice of squares, maybe this one on the edge of the board. I mean, I dread to think how black is going to survive this one with his king in the middle. Black isn't even a pawn up, so you're suffering for nothing, really. At least if you're suffering or defending, you want to have an extra pawn or want to have some long-term positional compensation, but...
Yeah, I mean, I
don't see it.
It's just, I don't know what the way my brain works somehow, but I was just thinking about that football chant, which you were saying, like, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough.
Yeah.
There must be some good chess chants that people think of, you know, so maybe we can ask that to the audience. What is the best sort of chant, like mantra you can get into your head when, is it come and have a go if you think you're hard enough? I'll take you down. You gambit, I'll take everything. Or is there something...
It's your motto.
Yeah, what's your motto, David? Is it like patience is a virtue, my friend? Or is it I'm going to make them suffer a little bit? I'm enjoying myself.
Something about the suffering.
Give me 100 moves and I'll be all...
I can remember one you have, Simon, because we went to the Good Night during the Oslo Esports Cup, and you played with the great Ajalen in the Chess24 company. You played, it must have been a blitz or maybe even a bullet game.
Oh, right, a bullet game, I think,
And you guys were bantering back and forth so much, and then you were winning the game, and you were yelling out, "What is this? What is this? What is this? It's checkmate on the board!"
Simon!
It was fantastic.
I may have been a little bit drunk, shall we say? But
And there is a video.
Oh dear. Oh dear. But I think I was getting given as good as I got. I think. You know, I think it was mutual.
Game.
So
The
it was
mood.
fun. I vaguely remember
Checkmate
that.
on the board.
Yeah.
I remember that. You played a great game. Checkmated the king on the
What is
G file.
this?
Just on the.
Simon!
Yeah, it's on the. I'm sure it's all right. Damn the Good Night. After the last round of the major cup. So
I think that's the key with trash talk. You only give trash talk to people who give it back.
Yep. Oh, and
you chose a good
Ajalen, she
one.
was trash talking. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was getting a lot myself. So I mean, you wouldn't just pick on an 8-year-old kid and start doing that, would you?
No.
So come on, what on earth is that? Like, you know.
No.
So, but what's Magnus doing here? I'm sorry, but
Talking of what is that?
You know, keep the queens on the board. I mean, the general rule is if your king is safer than your opponent's king, white's king is safer than the black king, keep the queens on the board. I mean, this can't be a bad move, but it's safety first, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad move. We should clarify, so we can't be too critical. Magnus still has the advantage if queens come off, for example. Okay, Magnus frowning there, but if black's queen takes the white queen, then one of the white rooks will recapture and white gains time. We're going to see it happen on the board. White's rook now will attack the black bishop in front of it. Black's knight as well, a bit unstable. We're going to see a lot of trades, and Magnus is going to grind away in the endgame. Maybe Magnus will even win one pawn in the process. So he's chosen a safety-first approach, as you mentioned, Simon, but why win one pawn when you can go for checkmate? And
I guess it's more his style, and maybe he's thinking about Jordan's style, and he's thinking, well, Jordan's a very creative player. He likes complex positions, so he's playing with his style and against his opponent's style. So it does actually make some sense. You know, safe advantage rather than a complicated one.
this is the type of move that approach that I would take against a great attacker like yourself, even like Jorden. But also, if I was playing someone I was a bit scared of.
Do you get scared? I can't believe you get scared.
More than you think. I try
Really?
and keep a poker face.
Oh, right. Who do you get scared about then? Are you allowed to say?
you.
You don't get scared when you play me. I know that. But,
I mean, higher-rated players. I think it's natural, human play. It's kind of human nature. I mean, if I play Magnus, boy, it's terrifying. Even if I know I'm winning. We actually played a blitz game down at the Good Night recently. Kyle was watching, and I actually had checkmate in 3 moves on the board, but he was trash-talking me, and I was like, oh, no, and I just assumed I wasn't winning, and of course I didn't. But
too much confidence in him. So,
yeah, exactly. So, that's why I'm slightly surprised, because Magnus is normally the one full of confidence, and to play the safety-first approach, like you say, there's some logic behind it. There's a lot of... it's kind of nice to take all the risk out, trading all the queens, but less possible reward comes along with the less risk. So, okay, Jorden, can he defend this endgame? Black's bishop needs to move, but where to? The black dark squared bishop.
That is the question. And whilst Jorden is pausing for thought, well, we also have a selfie competition where we have a fantastic prize of Chessable goodies up for grabs, all signed by the great Anish Giri. And GoldenEye 187 is saying they are a student of the game and they're watching Chessable Masters, and cheers to everyone. Also, cheers to you back.
Absolutely.
There you go. And Gaurav Mukherjee is supporting the whole event and enjoying the games, and is giving us a big thank you from India. I love it when everyone tells us where they're watching the show from, because it just shows how global everything is. And Lanadan is sending us greetings from the Swiss Alps to the Chess Champs studio, and is rooting for Anish. And of course, we get a picture of the beautiful Swiss landscape. And Well, we have to go back to the board because we were kind of talking about the king, the bishop defending, retreating, but we never thought about the king.
And look at Magnus's face. He's just, I mean, a moment ago he was just frowning. I don't understand. I mean, I vaguely saw this, but I just assumed white was winning a piece. What is Jordan's idea? After this capture, black simply has to take back this knight now with his pawn. Now white is going to give a check. With his rook, the black king is going to get forced away from the defence of his bishop. I think he's got a sneaky idea in mind of double attacking a couple of things later, but should we jump in? We're about to see this on the board.
We have to see this.
Maybe we can keep an eye on the players because we might see some big reactions on their faces. And let's just show what happened. Black's king came forward. We were expecting, due to this attack, the bishop to move. For example, to retreat, a couple of safe squares there, maybe go to the edge of the board. But instead, Black's king came forward as a defender, defending this bishop. Now, after a trade, we can see Magnus potentially checking the black king. And when the king retreats, we can see a simple trade of rooks. And now taking this black bishop off the board. And black's idea must be surely to bring the king to this square, attacking the white rook and attacking the bishop. At first, I thought maybe you just give up the rook. You take this knight off and then you retreat your bishop to a safe square to stop the black rook coming in with any checks. Maybe this one isn't so clear because black does have a passed pawn. And black has a very active king. So maybe this is what Jorden wants. But I did take a peek and actually there is a winning move.
Oh. You not swing the rook all the way to the h5 square.
You called it. This is maybe what Jorden has missed. You can bring the white rook across and defend from afar. And actually, this is the only safe square on this rank, on the 5th rank, to defend the bishop. And the thing is,
if the pawn attacks the rook, sorry, David, I was just there.
The thing is, if there's a check, the bishop can actually block and run away to safety. So this is completely fine for white. White has an extra bishop. And as Simon mentions, the pawn can step forward, attacking the white rook. But I guess you just move out the way. You just take this pawn, and after your bishop falls, you just push, create a safe square for your king, and you're just a pawn up with white, and more to come. This is the position on the board. We're expecting Magnus to just swing his rook across and most likely win the game.
And yeah, we did look at those stats for the Queen's Gambit decline, the opening they played in this game, and it was, you know, it was nice for white. The score was what, like 59% score?
56 points something.
56% and 43.8% for black.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of games played. And I don't think they are too bad statistics.
For black?
For black. But here, you know, can we blame the opening in this particular example? I'm not sure.
I think in chess in general, I think most openings have roughly 55% for white. That's just because you start with the first move. And that's if you look at the whole kind of sample size, where maybe at the lower levels, having white is more of an advantage. I mean, at the top level, people are so well prepared with black nowadays that I think that that gap is closing. But
we will start revealing throughout the tournament the most successful openings, both for white and for black throughout the tournament. I do have the list in front of me, and there are a couple black where black is in the lead in score against white in a few openings.
Should we try and guess what they are?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's hard to say, right?
I reckon the Sicilian is going to be up there.
Do you think so? Or?
For white.
For black.
So we've got to guess
For
which one
black,
black.
yeah.
Yeah, because Kaya said there are some openings where the black pieces are in the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there might be...
This is on the tour.
This is on the tour.
Ooh.
We'll start revealing all of it tomorrow.
French defence, maybe.
French defence?
Yeah, and meanwhile, one of the decisions that I mentioned, as well as keeping white's rook on the 5th rank, which looked risk-free, completely winning for white. Instead, Magnus has given up his rook for the black knight, and now he's retreated his bishop to this square, which guards the 1st rank. So black's rook cannot come down to the 1st rank to check the white king, because the white bishop guards any infiltration. So right now, it's a bishop and knight against a rook. Normally, the bishop and knight should be superior to the black rook, but temporarily, the white king is far away. Black does have a passed pawn on the c-file. Black's king is very active. What do we think? Some saving chances?
Well, I think there's a very important idea that white has here. I mean, the only danger for white is black's pawn, I think. The c-pawn, the pass pawn, we call it, because when you're in an ending, you've got to try to throw that down the board. And I think white has a very just simple way of guarding that. He can drop his... Yeah, we can put it on the board, drop his bishop back to stop that going forwards. The pawn can't come forwards. If it's supported by the king, let's say now, then I think you can just move your knight to really block that from ever happening. Your king, the white king, will surely just come in now and slowly but surely you win the game. I would have thought.
I think it's quite key as well on that line you show, Simon. Sorry, just for example, okay, he jumped in with the knight first, same idea.
Right, okay, same
but,
idea.
If the bishop had jumped forward, it's
right,
nice that you can actually take this bishop, take this pawn, and you can still come back and block any potential checkmating ideas. We normally say give your king some breathing space because you don't want to get checkmated on the back rank, but the bishop can block. Magnus, though, he doesn't want to go passive with his bishop, for example. He doesn't want to risk, for example, the black rook coming and grabbing this lone pawn. So he goes the other way. But same idea you mentioned there, Simon, and very effective. The white knight just completely blocks the advance of black's only hope, the passed pawn. And it's annoying you can't even bring a rook in right now. You can't bring a rook in to attack pawns because this knight jumps back with a fork and winning the game.
Yeah, and I think if Magnus now just improves his king, and then, you know, endings, you should always look where you have majority of pawns, what side of the board. White has the majority of pawns on the king side, 4 versus 3. So at some point, you should be able to create a passed pawn. And at some point, that passed pawn will probably become a queen. So it kind of looks pretty simple as winning plan, to be honest. I mean,
long term.
I don't think there's anything even, you know, that black can do because you're stopping all black's counterplay.
Yeah, black's pawns are fractured, and I mean these pawns are isolated, and knights are fantastic against isolated pawns. And your plan in action, Simon, just rerouting the white king, 1 more square, and the black rook will never break into the white camp. It's important that the black rook, if it does come in, it can be completely neutralized by the white bishop stepping back, defending this pawn in the corner, but also attacking this weak black pawn. And it's just, yeah, as you mentioned, almost game over. Knight and bishop together are worth 6 points, the black rook only worth 5. But it's not just that, there's 2 of them, and that's better than black's 1 piece, the rook.
I mean, I think Jordan's been quite off form today, I think it's fair to say. And I think the thing with players like Jorden, it's much harder. He's very creative, and sometimes that can be, you know, dazzling brilliancy. But on other days, if it's not quite 100%, it can be disastrous because he's always trying to do something creative. He's always trying to think outside the box, and it's harder to play that way in the long run. So
it's a lot of energy.
It's a lot. It's just the energy, isn't it? Because rather than just copying, doing things you're used to, you're always thinking of something unique. And yeah, that just, you know, it's harder to keep that tempo up. You know, wait until he gets my age. It'll be impossible. You know,
you have to change his style slightly or adapt. Or...
Yeah. It's quite funny, actually. On that topic, I chatted with Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, again, not to give too many spoilers, but he talks about that. And he says, you know, so many people have said to him, hey, you know, you're getting older. Why do you not just play boring chess? And he's like, I can't. It's not in my personality when I play chess. It has to be with the heart. It has to be with the soul. I have to ignite that passion. And yeah, but here you go. You know, we see the downsides of playing in such a fiery style. And Magnus is in full control. And Simon, you did ask our Twitter our viewers are saying, you know, what kind of mottos did they have when they play chess? And Tyler Welch says, my motto when playing chess is stolen from Thanos. Okay, maybe David can do it because David's a big Avenger.
Can we hear it in the voice?
No.
Yeah, come on.
Go for it.
We've got to hear it, come on.
I am inevitable.
Nice.
I like it. That was good.
Okay, I would just leave the board if...
Yeah, if someone did that, you'd be like, OK, I resign.
I resign.
Yeah, you are inevitable.
Try that next time, David.
Yeah. Doesn't work out so well for him the second time he says it.
Oh.
No spoilers. Yeah, big Marvel fan. Literally, the highlight of my summer is going to be watching the new Thor movie.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, meanwhile... Yeah, the mighty Thor, but this position not looking so mighty for Jorden.
I'm looking forward to the new Top Gun movie. I think that's out soon. Welcome to the...
And what is it?
Danger Zone. Oh, I know it's not. It's something else, isn't it? Welcome to
It's highway to the danger zone.
Highway.
That's where we went wrong.
I just freestyle my lyrics, all right? I just make them up, you know? Call it that way. So
we had a whole show where we always singing, welcome to the danger zone.
I still haven't seen the film, don't know the music, so...
It's very,
Not yet.
it's very 80s, I feel like, or 90s, Boise kind of.
Does it kind of age well, though? Because I often feel like these 80s films, you take a look at them and you're like...
I think it ages very well, so definitely.
And talking of 80s, 90s, these two players born in the 90s there, I mean, it's only going to be one winner, and that is Magnus Carlsen. The position has not improved at all for black. And look at those white pawns. They've started to push. Literally nothing for Jorden to do. I wouldn't be surprised if he just gives up hope soon.
I mean, it's just those pawns. It's very actually simple to win.
Inevitable. Those white pawns are marching forward.
Love it, David. Inevitable. Your fate is sealed. So,
That's not Thanos. That's someone else.
I'm just making it up, saying your fate is sealed. Your demise is in the stars. So, I'm just trying to think of what I'm going to say to my opponent next time I play.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there's simply nothing to do here for Jorden. Look at the clock times as well. How imbalanced is that? More than 10 minutes for Magnus in a easily winning position at this point. The white king can just continue centralising itself or even marching towards the right side of the board. White's bishop and knight have everything locked down.
Yeah, it's a complete control. I mean...
It's in my mind now, that one word, inevitable, but this position is basically the definition of inevitable. Black just has to sit and wait and do nothing.
I mean, I think the only thing that could go wrong is if white gets greedy, loses control of black's only passed pawn. So let's say you grabbed a pawn now with check. Very greedy this is. You want to, in positions like this, it's so much more important to keep control rather than get greedy. And if you did go for the check, black moves his king, we can win another pawn. But you've lost control a little bit now because the black pawn is suddenly free. The white knight was controlling that one, but now, you don't want to allow any counterplay. This is just key. Stop the counterplay.
Don't put your piece on bad squares like this knight, even if you can win a pawn in the process. And as you mentioned, Simon, stop all counterplay, but not just that. In the current position, improve your pieces. And this white king is destined to come in and start picking off the remaining black pawns. This is where white has the advantage. That's why Magnus is playing on that side. When you have a pawn majority, it makes sense to play on that flank.
There's no stopping that white king from getting to its destination as well. Because, yes, you can attack pawns, but, hey, the knight can actually step back to the c4 square. Or Magnus just goes, well, I don't even need to defend it. That king is just going to run to chase and gobble up those pawns on the right.
Yeah, so white giving up this pawn in the centre to the black rook, but instead just going after these pawns. We might even see a trade here, but there's no way to keep this pawn intact. If you try and defend it with your king, then the white bishop sweeps in and captures another pawn. And it's actually close to a mating net now for the black king. This white pawn is going to step forward sooner or later. It's, I can't say the word, inevitable. It's getting close, though, for a win for Magnus.
Wow, with the white pieces in a game where they have played the Queen's Gambit Decline. I'm super happy we did see that because it turns out it is the second most popular opening on the tour. And I have another fact about it. So Ty, our stats genius, just wrote me that Magnus has played 5 games with the black pieces in the Queen's Gambit Declined. Can you guess what his score is in those games where he had the black pieces in that opening?
This season he beat Pragnananda in the Queen's Gambit Declined last month.
100%.
It's not 100%, that's okay. But it's 70%.
70% with black, that is incredible.
Yeah, so is he an expert in this opening?
Yeah.
Yes, from both sides, white and black.
Expert in everything, isn't he, really?
Yeah, and he's also expert in those very unusual variants of the Queen's Gambit Declined, and he just simply knows how to handle the positions, and he knows, when to be patient, when to strike. Absolutely fantastic player. Yeah. But in the Queen's Gambit Declined, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's phenomenal there. And, I remember him beating Nakamura on both sides of that many, many times. I think Magnus, one of the best patches of his career in early 2019, he was just every time on the white side of the Queen's Gambit Declined, he would just smash his opponents off the board. It was just a joy to watch.
We rarely talk about which openings is Magnus the expert on. He's the universal player, but is this the opening he is the expert in?
It's one of them. Yeah.
He's so good at everything. I mean, this is he can play. I think he's what people don't realise, a real student of the game. Yeah. So he's done a lot of work and he's got incredible memory. So he's able to recall games from hundreds of years ago, exact positions which were played in certain openings, and adapt them into his own play. And yeah, it's just one of his big strengths.
Yeah, opening books, he's just poring over them all the time. I mean, this game is not going to last much longer now. White is simply going to capture this black pawn on the right side of the board. White's 2 pawns are unstoppable, and at the very least, White can give up one of his pieces, the white knight or the white bishop, for black's pawn in the middle of the board. Those 2 white pawns, on this side, they're just going to march up and win the game. It's a matter of time now. Jorden giving up hope.
Yeah.
Look at that, 2 minutes for Jorden. Magnus still has 11 minutes left on the clock. What happened in this game? Was it preparation that Jorden didn't follow?
I have a feeling Jorden just mixed up his opening move orders. Maybe he had an idea in this opening, but that one moment we praised Magnus maybe for being brave, grabbing a pawn. After that, I mean, Jorden never got back in the game. Simply, he never recovered. Maybe a slight opening disaster from Jorden, but Magnus's technique ever since that one small slip in the opening has just been flawless. And now the white knight jumping to attack the black rook, but also to stop black's pawn from marching forward. That white knight will keep the black pawn under lock and key, and white's pawns win the game.
And I'm looking at the bar on the bottom of the screen. Mishra, Mamedyarov. Mamedyarov is he still world number 5? Something like that. The bar all the way over to Mishra's side. And we do have a result in this game. It is a win for Magnus Carlsen, his 2nd win in a row. Horrible start for Jorden today. He only has 1 point out of those 4 first games. But Magnus will be somewhere along the top